Kate Jonuska, welcome back to the Rocky Mountain Writer Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Good to be here.
Yeah, lots to talk about with you. We've got a brand new anthology from your critique group, the third in the series we'll talk about. It's called Broken. Bunch of short stories. I think we actually have a plan to read that first short story by one and only Kate Jonuska.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. And we have news coming off the gathering of the RMFW Winter Party this weekend, including some election results. And we're going to touch base on some updates about the 2022 Colorado Gold Conference and some news there. So lots to catch up on. It's great to have you on. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. It has been quite a whirlwind year for me.
Yeah.
My first year as vice president of RMFW and also conference co-chair along with Mira Landry. And the conference went really well this year, but I've also hosted 2 events as VP. So yeah, I've been pretty darn busy.
Yeah.
This last weekend, we had our winter party at Trident Booksellers this time, and that was quite fun. Our summer party was at Tattered Cover downtown Denver, but I live in Boulder, and we were looking for a new venue, and Trident has an outdoor patio, which is a little bit more COVID safe.
Yes.
So we met there this weekend. It was a small but jovial crew. Trident actually has quite a nice selection of beer and wine, and we toasted and mingled and announced the new presidents of the RMFW board for next year. Well, actually, the next 2-year term.
Yeah.
So,
drum roll.
Oh, well, I mean, as you know, I'd like to thank both of our finalists, ZJ Zuper and Connie Baldry. Both are active RMFW members, and we really thank them for their time. After all the votes came in, though, thank y'all members for voting. Our next president is, for the next 2-year term, ZJ Zuper. So,
excellent.
It was fantastic. He was there. We've got some great photos of him and our outgoing president, Sue. And again, it seems like he's really excited. We've got some fresh blood. And yeah, again, we just had a really great time. So for those of you guys who couldn't come, we missed you. But hopefully next year, our parties will be a little bit more easy to attend. But, fingers crossed, let's see what happens with the world between now and then.
Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you for that bit of news. And obviously people can check out, I'm sure they'll put it up on the website and Facebook page and all that as soon as possible. And we'll try to get this podcast out early this week if we can. We're talking on December 6th. So as we go along the little skipping stone of news here, as your role as co-chair of Colorado Gold, I know you've got some news about the plans for 2022, including timing and location.
Yeah, as all of you guys who tuned into the conference know, this year was a little unique. We ran later than usual. We usually go in September. We went in October instead, which was a nice change of pace. But this year we are going back to tradition. So save the date of September 9th through 11th. We are going to be meeting for the next Colorado Gold Conference for that weekend, and also at a new hotel. Mira, my co-chair, and also the outgoing president, Sue, and I, to a certain degree, but they did so much legwork. We loved the place that we've been at the Renaissance, but it was time to look for a new place. We did a lot of legwork, and we actually settled on a new hotel, the Hyatt Regency Aurora. And oh man, Mark, this is beautiful. I encourage everybody out there. We can give you a link. There's a drone tour of this hotel, and it is posh and it is new. It has a beautiful outdoor patio where maybe we could have some outdoor gatherings for maybe a happy hour or a reading, who knows. All of the conference rooms are on one level. We're really excited. They also rolled out the red carpet and let us try all of their food.
Yeah.
Which, again, the Renaissance has always, not disappointed on that count, but, tasting a new kitchen, it was really exciting. So I know it's going to be a little bit of a drive for people who are used to going to the other location, but it's still Metro Denver. We have a great deal on hotel rooms. And also we have some keynote speakers in the works that we hope to be able to announce in January or February. So, I
Excellent.
mean, I can't say, but I am very excited with the couple of names that we're tossing around.
That's great. So, yeah, the Renaissance has been home for a long, long time. We took a couple of years off. I was president at the time and went up to the Westin in Broomfield
Oh, yeah.
for a
I
couple of
remember that as
years.
well.
Yeah. And it was nice change of pace, but then we went back to the Renaissance for a few years. I mean, every hotel probably has its advantages and disadvantages. But I think being all on one level and maybe having some new space would be nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've always loved the conference. It's one of my favorite parts about RMFW. And I remember the Westin ones, those were closer to me in Boulder. So that was kind of nice. But it's amazing the juggling that goes on with it. I mean, all the different factors in play. One of them was actually very interesting. The State of Colorado Tourism Board, they're really encouraging people to have conferences right now. So we were able to get some rebate offers and some special contacts through them. So again, we really like the Renaissance, but this is a new hotel. It wasn't one that was available to us before. And it's just an exciting new opportunity. So again, I'm pretty excited. The rooms look beautiful. And that outdoor patio, I got to say, was pretty stunning.
Excellent. And I believe most hotels come with a bar, and that's the main point of a conference, I believe.
Oh yeah. Did you check out that drone tour? There's this beautiful lobby, lots of tables, lots of couches, the bar/cafe/coffee bar areas. This hotel is really set up for conferences. So it's kind of tailor-made for the kind of things we want to do. They also are very excited about doing a brunch for us again, which was something we did this year that was very well liked. We did a brunch food instead of lunch the last day. And the chef there was already thinking about cool things we could have for brunch.
That's great. That's great. Excellent. Well, thanks for all your work that went into choosing a new location and evaluating that, and probably saving RMFW some money as well. And, that's the point of an organization like ours, to keep trying new things and seeing what works. And if we did the same thing every year, I believe it would just get stale and old. So my big challenge as a mystery writer, crime writer, is you're up against the big national Mystery Writers Conference next year in Minneapolis, BoucherCon, but any weekend you pick is going to be something. So,
yeah, we were really disappointed about that. We know a few longtime RMFW members who write mystery who are disappointed that there's the conflict there. But this year, at least, is sadly unavoidable. But we will do our best to align those things when we can.
Yeah. BoucherCon moves around, and that goes anywhere from August to October. So you just don't know any given year. Well, excellent. All right. So thanks for the news updates there. Now let's get to the personal news and the publication of the third volume and short story anthology from the 30th Street Critique Group. Do I have that right?
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it is a nice segue because at the conference, me and my fellow critique member, Caitlin Burvey, taught a class about anthologies for fun and profit. And this anthology was coming out, and we got to talk a lot about our journey. 30th Street Fiction is a very long-standing critique group up here in Boulder. In fact, it's named after 30th Street, which is a street in Boulder that is, one of the more affordable places to live around here, right? Kind of the artistic side of town.
There's nothing affordable in Boulder. Come on.
Relatively is doing a lot of work in that sentence. But yeah, well, we've been getting together for a really long time. This is our third anthology, and we put them out every 2 years, which means for 6 years, we've been actually publishing together, which is pretty exciting. If you let me show them off a bit again, this is something that I absolutely love doing. Our first anthology was called Proof. I'll give you a little look there for the Zoom audience.
Great.
But it was an idea of someone in our group that, hey, we're getting better at this. We want to try indie publishing. Why don't we put together an anthology? It went really well. It sucked up a lot of our time. So we decided that we'd do it every other year. But then 2 years later, we came out with Flight, which again, Flight is the theme of the book, just like Proof was. And this time we professionalized it a little bit more. We actually have our own imprint now. We are 30th Street Press. We have ISBNs under our own name. So we've been kind of growing and learning through this process of, proof. We did for those of you acquainted with indie publishing, we just did the free ISBN from Amazon. We did super simple, hands off.
Right.
And then the next one, we're using our own ISBN, we're using our own imprints. And then this year, I'm very proud of this book, our third one, Broken. Actually, it's a little, it's a little shiny on the Zoom, but I'll give you a picture of it as well. This one, again, I'm very excited about because really through the arc of these books, you can see our group professionalizing and improving. And it's not only great for readers, but just for us. We are so proud of this book. And also all the things we've learned. It's 7 authors that are participating this time, although we have a slightly larger group than that, but not everyone could participate. And we kind of rotate roles each time. There's 3 editors, and I did the cover design this time. We have a treasurer who handles the ISBNs. We have someone who handles the social media. And I don't know. I mean, it's at one point like a hobby that I'm doing with my friends, like a really fun thing, and also a professional accomplishment I'm incredibly proud of. So, like I said, Caitlin and I, who has a story in this book, a nice fantasy story that includes a drake. I love all the different kinds of dragons. I had to ask her what a drake was, but anyway, great fantasy story. She and I taught that class, and I think the passion we have for the project really comes through. It came out on Black Friday, where it's available on ebook wide and also paperback through Amazon. $9.99 for the paperback, good stocking stuffer, I have to say. And another reason I'm really excited about it is the theme.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Let me ask you a couple quick questions about the imprint aspect of it.
Of course.
Did you started a company, it sounds like to me, and opened a bank account? No?
Yeah. Okay. We do have a treasurer. We're working on our LLC.
Yeah.
But we're very, again, keeping it very basic to start.
Right.
And then building upon it. Mostly it's just that we want our own ISBNs to start.
Right.
We kind of put in our own seed money through our group to purchase those. And then through the sales of our anthologies, we hope to purchase more.
Yeah.
And then be able to continue that process just mostly for ourselves to kind of nurture each other and really give each other some indie publishing experience.
Yeah. What is the importance to you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, of controlling and owning your own ISBN numbers?
Yes. Well, it's becoming ever more important, honestly, especially with the proliferation of different types of books. I mean, anymore, it's not just you need one ISBN. I mean, you really should to be safe and be able to go wide and really control your own assets. You should have an ISBN for the audiobook. You should have an ISBN for the paperback, and you should have an ISBN for the ebook. Again, there's lots of advice out there, more qualified than I to talk about why. Yeah. But it's been really neat to see that process. That at first we just got out there, we let Amazon do it, and now step by step we're taking it into our own control.
Yep.
But it's also really nice because we get to fill out the ISBN information. We get to get it out there with our keywords and try to get it into libraries.
Right.
So
that makes you more
a lot more power when we use our own ISBN.
Yeah, it makes you more accessible, I think, for independent stores as well.
Exactly.
To be able to order it. So, are you going through Lightning Source for your hard physical books?
No, we're just doing Amazon for now.
Okay. Yeah.
Our stretch goal this time, again, step by step, baby steps, was to go wide with the ebook.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do that before. So our experiment this time is we're using draft to digital. That's a 2. Caitlin, one of our members, used that for her audiobook. We're using it for the ebook here, but we sold enough of the ebook last time that we figured, hey, let's give this a whirl. Mm-hmm. And so that's our stretch goal this time, is we're going wide with the ebook. But we haven't looked into different paperback options. No.
Yeah.
I think that's the next time around.
That's great. And who does your design, your exterior cover, your interior design? Is that on your 7-person critique group staff as well? That's great.
Yes, actually the first book, I can show you that cover again, Proof. was a graphic designer friend of mine who was willing to do it for a song, pretty much. Again, we kind of pitched in our resources. And then we did the interior ourselves using a template. And the next time around, we did the cover ourselves. We did the interior design ourselves. And then those have been in-house since. We again, rotate the tasks. So this time someone else did the interior design using our custom template we have now. So again, we all get that really nice experience.
That's great. That's great. And how does it work in terms of selection? Do you basically put it out to the critique group? Anybody who wants in can get in, and then you're going to go through an editing process. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Ours is quite a unique process because when you're applying for an anthology, it's more of an auditioning process. Like your piece is done and hey, will this fit in your anthology? For us, it really is a more organic process, which is fun because we start about a year in advance and we decide a theme. And all of us believe that we all need to contribute. So the story you put in the anthology needs to go through the critique group. Like we meet every other Saturday. And over that nice course of time that we plan in advance, your story should come through all of us. So by the time that these stories are on the page and finished, like all of us have had a part in them. All of us have seen them in different iterations. So it's not even just the final 3 editors. We all feel like we've had a little bit of a piece in the creation, which is really nice. We've had up to 9 or 10 in the past, but this year, again, with COVID, it just, the way it happened is we had 7 people that had the time and energy to get finished stories.
Yeah.
That's also the nice thing, though. I think a lot of members might be able to sympathize here that when you're in a part of a critique group, you love seeing stories come back, but you often don't get to see them finished.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see the first draft and the second draft and the third, but getting to see the successful, finished, polished, beautiful story, that rarely happens in critique group. So getting that book together is pretty great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk about the theme. Did you, other than the word broken, did you give any parameters or further definition as you asked your writers to develop stories?
No, we kind of like the theme to bind us. We're not a critique group that is based on genre. Mm-hmm. We write in quite a few different genres. So we have sci-fi and fantasy, historical, romance, satire, some erotica now and then, but none in this collection.
Yeah.
But so we put up 3 different theme ideas and then we voted on broken. And we kind of brainstormed. On our private blog, we put up different songs, different lyrics, different broken phrases. I think at one point we had a blog post of like broken bones, broken dreams, like a list of 50 different phrases with the word break or broken, just to try to get the juices flowing. I think by now we kind of get a kick out of the different ways we can take it. The first theme of proof, for instance, we used proof for photos. We used proof of alcohol content. We used proof as in, of course, proof in a case. But for this broken one, we used breaking and entering, broken glass, broken staffs, broken promises. So really, I love that it's a very specific phrase that can go so many different ways. And with the pandemic, it just worked. I mean, we made this anthology via Zoom rather than in person like our other 2 anthologies. So the process was just kind of broken and we just had to go with it. It really resonated with all of us.
Do you have handy, or maybe it's worth reading, just the titles and the authors in this new collection?
Sure. Of Broken. All right. We have Breaking Even by me, Kate Jonuska. Trash Magic by Richard M. Ham. Rusty by Jessica LeVay. The Broken Toe by JVL Bell. Fractured Dreams by Caitlin Burvey. We Fix It by Leslie Harrison. And Rift by Ian K. Long. So all told, 7, and with an introduction by a member who's currently on sabbatical. He had a few life things that not writing at the moment, but was able to write our introduction. So.
Okay. And Kate, how do you find that working on these anthologies helps your own other fiction writing projects?
That's a really good question because I do find them very, very rewarding. Um, for number one, I love short stories. They're very satisfying, very clever in a way that just always kind of lights me up a little bit. Also, the group collaborative element of it, the indie publishing element of it, and I'm also a designer. I mean, I designed the cover, so this kind of project, even though it's fiction, is it's like a palette changer from trying to write a novel. The novel is so big and heavy and complex and all on you, you know. And so working on this kind of collaborative project, it's still creative, but it's less pressure for me. So especially when I'm feeling blocked on other projects, yeah, I absolutely do love doing stuff like this.
And what are you working on right now?
I've been working on a dystopia here for a couple of years. And I am excited about it. I hope to finish it this year and be shopping it next conference, I hope. So, but yeah, it's just been a big, hard book, dystopia during a dystopic time. So doing things like writing the anthology and being RMFW VP. I know productivity is a big part of the writing world. Like, it's like, how many books have you written this year? And for me, sometimes that's just not possible. And I absolutely love and feel balanced by being able to do these other fiction projects.
Yep.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Tell us how Transference is doing. That book seemed to me like it really had some legs. It really doing pretty well.
I haven't been actively marketing it.
Yeah.
It does sell a few copies now and then, and it's still in bookstores. I still have it on consignment, and it stays on consignment, which is nice. But otherwise, I'm hoping to do an audiobook, actually. I think it would make a great audiobook. It's very funny. I think the voice of the narrator could be fantastic. It can't be me because it is a male main character. But that's one of the other things I'm looking into in 2022 is getting an audiobook of Transference done. I think that would be really fun.
How are you going to go about that?
I haven't decided. I don't want to do I would like to keep my rights.
Yeah.
So I'm looking into ways to do that. There's a couple of different ways right now. But I am willing to save up and do it myself. I think I don't want to do a price share. I've learned a lot from indie publishing, and even if it takes me a little more time, I'm willing to keep the rights all to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. If you have any advice on that, Count,
the ACX platform through Audible, have you investigated that?
Oh, yeah. It's very popular.
Yeah. And so if you post it there and you can find a narrator that you can just pay and then you own the rights, the question there is what is the hourly fee going to be? But I don't, how long is Transference? Is not
it is not very long. It's about 70,000 words.
Yeah. So it might be 7 or 8 hours, somewhere in there, of maybe 6 or 7. So yeah, depending on the narrator, but it's just that quality it's just going to make a huge difference in the final product. And unfortunately, I've had some bad experiences on the ACX with Gary Riley's books, the books we're publishing of the posthumous, project. Gary left behind 25 novels, and we've been doing some on audio. And I've tried to get a few different narrators and they've agreed after wonderful auditions to produce the books. And they say they're going to do it, and then nothing happens. It's so frustrating. You report them to ACX. I don't know why there's no money, nothing to be gained by agreeing to do a project and then not doing it. But that's my one caution on ACX.
Yes, it's definitely still in the running. I mean, just because, again, it's easy. It's a big gorilla in the market.
Right.
And if you play the game correctly, you can make it work perhaps. But there's also interesting brick and mortar options I've had friends use. My friend JVL Bell, who is the author of The Lucky Hat Mine, historical fiction, she has actually have a local studio here in Boulder that records it on site. So they help her find the narrator. She auditions them. She goes to the studio and can see, the reading happen, and then gets the file that she can then distribute however she likes.
That sounds like the way to
It's a
go.
little bit more cost intensive, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of juggling. I mean, as you know, it's going to be, neither one is a perfect fit, and you have to find which one is right for the project at the time.
Yeah, that's great. Very good. Well, I'm glad to hear Transference is still catching some readers out there. That's fantastic. Yep. Great. Well, speaking of audiobooks, how's this for a segue?
Beautiful.
We have a plan to read your short story right here, live, so to speak, on the podcast. Yeah, with no edits. If everything goes well, no edits, and we will entertain the vast podcast listening audience of the Rocky Mountain Writer.
Oh, fast.
So, do you want to set this up at all, or tell us about
sure.
what inspired it, and then we'll get to it?
Well, I might save what inspired it for afterwards, so it doesn't ruin it. At least the specific thing that inspired it. But it's about a glassmaking family in the modern world. Broken to me, started with breaking glass, but then also came about in the story in many other different ways as well. So it is the story that sets off this anthology. So if you like it, readers, please do buy the book. You can share it. And there's some other fantastic stories in there as well.
That's great. Do you want to just, before we start, just how did you come up with your main character's name? And does it mean anything to you?
It does. It does. And honestly, I'm going to hold that one until the end as well.
You got to answer my.
A little bit of a spoiler, but
you got to answer my. You're not answering my questions.
Okay, they're good questions. See, is the thing. So, don't want to give it away.
All right, you're off the hook. All right, here is. We're going to trade here back and forth, but here is Kate Jonuska reading the beginning of her short story, "Breaking Even."
All right, thanks, Mark. "Breaking Even" by Kate Jonuska. Kalian never dreamed of being an entrepreneur. Though his family now lived in a different country than their ancestors, he came from a long, proud line of glassworkers. And Kalian had wanted nothing more than to shape raw materials into delicate, beautiful objects every day and every moment of his life. His young face had lit up and his destiny kindled the first time he saw a forge, a boy at his father's knee, wearing his father's too large face shield. Year by year, he'd learned their family's ancient inherited techniques, almost as old as the powers of fire, earth, water, and air themselves, which even in the 21st century, all glassmakers aim to tame and master. Kalian had easily, confidently devoted his life to that mastery. For many years, father and son worked together in a modest shop that sold only the finest quality glasses and goblets, decanters and vases, bowls, platters, and figurines of all shapes and sizes. Transparent and sparkling clean, the finished objects upon the shelves glittered in the sunlight in the front window near the store entrance, where a bell jingled to signal the customer's entry. Gradually over the years, the door opened, and therefore the bell jingled less. Watching through the front window from open to close, his father observed that the people passing on the street were increasingly harried, hurried, and stressed. Devices pressed to their ears, they scurried past in one direction each morning, carrying to-go coffee and pastry, then scurried back at the end of the day, clutching fast food bags for dinner. And they eat food on paper plates. I know this, his father said, wagging his finger in judgment. Even in their homes, they cannot slow down for a real meal. They have forgotten how to eat. They have forgotten how to live. Though she loved his father almost as much as Kalian did, his younger cousin would lock her mischievous eyes with Kalian's, and they'd wag their own fingers in imitation behind the old man's back. Both cousins believed that the glass had been made for centuries, had sold for centuries, and would certainly sell again. They knew this.
Or at least Kalian assumed continued success was assured, ignoring the business side of work. He'd always angled to spend most of his time in the forge across the alley rather than the shop or their living quarters above. He forever smelled of sweat and fire and minerals, and he could get lost for hours in the artisan rhythms and techniques, honed into their ideal forms. The moment one hand set a piece to cool and cure, his other hand reached for rods to fire another. As the son worked away at his happy destiny, however, the bell rang even less. Kalian's father fretted ever more about the growing numbers of paper plate people, those who did not need 12 place settings or ornate candelabras as they once did. Customers claimed to already have champagne flutes, which they displayed in glass-fronted cabinets rather than used. They have no friends with whom to break bread, nothing to celebrate. Even couples who buy 2 glasses to smash at their wedding, they will drink from plastic at home every day after. His father would often say to the empty shop, crowded only with inventory, then suck at his teeth in disbelief. They think they are too good for us. By then, Kalian's cousin had become concerned with the continued downward trajectory of the store's finances, and her mischievous glances had grown worried. Sometimes during the old man's diatribes, she spoke up to disagree, saying, "No, I think they believe we are too good for them." Kalian saw her point and shared the sadness evident in her voice. A person who found a glass too fancy to handle valued the life of the glass over their own life's experiences. Day after day, most people proved they valued their own lives very little, and so sale signs proliferated outside, offering percentages off and holiday discounts, each deal pasted atop the last and cutting further into the profits. The permanent signs inside the store stating, "You break it, you buy it," seemed to Kalian increasingly desperate. Please break something so you'll have to buy something.
By the time of his father's death, the shop overflowed with unsold goods and was underwater in bills. After the funeral, Kalian stayed in clean clothes and away from the forge for months taking care of business. His cousin presented various plans to save the store, and he could muster no opinions about her ideas. They shifted inventory and debts and expectations and the rhythms of their lives until nothing more could be juggled. They lost the store space first, gaining another month from their landlord to vacate their living quarters and the forge. The ancient glassmaking family now had only 2 survivors, seeming shipwrecked in the modern world. A truck delivered an empty shipping container to load the shop's inventory. They packed all those glasses and goblets, decanters and vases, the bowls, platters, and figurines of all shapes and sizes, each one crafted with love, and hid all that elegant glass in brown boxes, much like the paper plate people boxed them up in cabinets. Dazed and depressed, Kalian wheeled the first set of boxes to the massive storage container and paused at its entrance. He ripped the tape from one box, removed a single wine glass, and held it up to the sun. The beautiful object still existed, at least for now, at least for a little longer. But if beautiful objects were deemed too valuable to use, he thought, they actually had no value at all, worshipped into obscurity. More importantly, an object worshipped or unbought never need be replaced. A world that needed no glass had no need for a glassmaker, and his family's glassmaking craft would die out forever. Before his mind had a chance to understand why, his arm had hurled the delicate wine glass in his hand into the cave of the storage container. Only a millimeter thin, the glass caught sparks of direct sunlight as it flew, then broke into shards against the metal wall with a soft musical crash, reminding Kalian of the store's entrance bell. The moment stretched. His senses sharpened, but his nerves calmed, and he threw another glass, this time anticipating the delicious sound of his work shattering. Part of his soul nodded. Digging deeper into the box, he tossed another, considering the couples who smashed glasses in the name of love. He threw another and another, each break echoing in the container, and his heart, until hills of sparkling shards populated the container's far corners. He paused, feeling like a rippled puddle, again at rest. "What are you doing?" his cousin asked, her mouth agape over the open box of paperwork in her arms. She stopped for one beat, then added, "Can I go next?" Kalian smiled and opened another box. Her face flushed. She dropped her papers haphazardly and took his place. In 10 minutes, they smashed what had taken them hours to pack carefully against breakage. As his cousin stilled, her breathing now deep and slow, Kalian grabbed one of the old signs from her box of paperwork. With ceremony, he ripped the paper in half and used packing tape to hang the pieces in opposite order on the open door of the container. The sign now read, "You buy it, you break it." The cousins locked eyes and nodded.
Their first customers threw glass in the original storage container, that symbol of their near demise. Customers chose and paid for their glass in the shop out front before they were let out back, wearing one of Kalian's face shields from the forge and standing behind a line on the metal floor for safety. And the new sign became the only rule. Anything the customer bought, the customer broke on sight. By design, they left with as many possessions as when they'd arrived. But Kalian would swear they walked lighter and taller, certain they'd treasure the experience far more than they'd ever treasure having a new possession to hide away. Most importantly, every night, Kalian would sweep all the shards of glass into a cauldron. He'd melt the glass back into pliability, then blow and shape the glass back into anything his heart desired. He was making again whatever he wanted, as much as he wanted. In addition to the ancient and formal glass of his family, he experimented with shape and thickness to create glass that shattered like bubbles popping or delicate enough to fracture at a pinprick. Again, like a needle in its groove, his forge was lit late into the night, and so was his destiny rekindled. Her accounting books now fruitful and multiplying, Kalian's cousin redesigned the container into a custom throwing range, then ordered a half dozen more to keep up with demand. When she later franchised the store, Kalian added forges and hired apprentices to sit at his knee and learn the old ways so the old knowledge never died, even if the pieces themselves were designed to be destroyed. Glass broke all over the world. Much ink was spilled in the media and money flowed in. His cousin eventually bought a penthouse, but Kalian was happy to live above the shop across the alley from his forges. Not just happy, joyous. Every day he woke up to make glass. Every day he would sow the seeds collected from the previous day's destruction. And when his soul broke free of its body, as all souls eventually must, he brought with him no possessions, but instead his experiences, and he left behind him a powerful legacy of nothing at all. The end.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That was really nice to share with you. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Wow. So I think you got enough breaking in there to fit the definition of the anthology.
Right? Yeah. It's amazing how much you can layer in a theme if you just, think about it long enough.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Answer your, sorry.
Yep. I'm just going to repeat my questions as we wrap up here. Tell us what inspired this particular story and your character's name.
Well, I have both a kind of esoteric reason and a very mundane one. And the mundane one is the Netflix show Blown Away. I absolutely love that glass blowing show. And it just kind of stuck in my head. There's a lot of similarities, I think, in the arts between writing and glass blowing, just these people making their art. And, just it was so inspiring to me and really stuck with me. So the art of glass blowing just stuck in my head and became a prompt. And then as for the name of the character, that's more esoteric. I think, as you know, I'm a yogi, and that's part of my life. And Kali is the goddess of destruction and creation. So a Kali, who is usually depicted with her tongue hanging out and grabbing a severed head in one hand, she burns things down so things can be created anew. And the breaking of the glass, Kalian was the kind of male name that came out of Kali. So.
I like it. That's very cool. Well, it's an interesting sort of commentary on how, our times have changed and our relationship to our material things, especially given the pandemic and just what we're all sort of, I think a lot of us are more in touch with that aspect of, what are we, what we own? I mean, that's always sort of been a question. But the whole idea of just, now we're on paper plates and just a very fast world, we don't stop to appreciate sort of some of the accoutrements of a nice dining room or something like that, or a nice meal.
I collect antiques and things like that. I love vintage fabrics and making them into new things, like actually using them.
Yeah.
Using your grandmother's china every day. It doesn't do any good on a shelf. So yeah, to me, it's something that once I wrote it, I was like, yeah, it said something that I feel pretty deeply about.
Good deal. Well, Kate Jonuska, thank you so much for your time today and all this information and news. And thanks for sharing the story. And best of luck in 2022 with the new board and new leadership and with getting the conference planning going. So holler anytime with news or information there, and we'll get folks fired up about Colorado Gold.
Of course. And again, just congratulations to ZJ, our new president. Can't wait to see his term, see what he does.
Yep. All right, Kate, thanks a million.
Sure. Thanks, Mike.